So it's one thing to have, to have criticism of, or for a news organization to question something, a proposal that you've put up.
Yes,
But
that's
the
one
idea of arrest, kind of gotcha kind of thing. That
It was just, granted, it was the truth, it was a fact, I have nothing to hide about that.
And you feel like there should be a mutual respect. I can
There
tell
should
you that oftentimes with politicians, they use the media to promote themselves, or if they've gotten into trouble, then let's say something did develop that was real, then all of a sudden they're not available. They're nice and friendly when it's something that's beneficial, but when it's not,
Then they disappear.
right. How would you change that?
Well, number one, I'm not a
If I have
politician.
some dirt on you and it's legitimate, what would you do?
I would have to say, well, yes, that happened, and this is the situation.
It could be a breath of fresh air if the public saw that, wouldn't it? But-
I believe it would be, but, it's.
With politics as usual, it's a rarity.
Yeah, it's a rarity. It's just, it is what it is, and the media does what they're going to do. I have no control of the media, and if the News Journal wants to print stories, then that's what they're supposed to do, is print stories. I would just request that we have mutual respect for the office. I do everything, that's why I dress appropriately. I do everything so that I do not bring any kind of discredit or disgrace to the office.
Well, let me ask you this. After that, there was a story about the fact that you came back to Tiger Bay, and of course, people
Yes.
probably know by now, during the primary, you were excluded
I was excluded.
from Tiger Bay, which is a private organization of big shots, little community big shots that like to wax poetic about how important they are. And you were excluded, but Persis and Doran were welcomed and you were excluded. The News Journal has a corporate membership in the Tiger Bay.
Okay.
But then when you came back to Tiger Bay as county chair-elect, suddenly you came back as some kind of a conquering hero.
I guess.
And you got a big write-up in the newspaper.
Yes.
And then you went over the gas tax, and folks, we'll get to the gas tax eventually here, but the whole thing about, again, the News Journal had this thing about this gas tax is something that's taboo. And then there was a reference in the story, in parentheses, he drives a gas guzzler, he ditched his motorcycle, and now he has this gas guzzling Camaro. Was it necessary to put that in the story?
I don't think that was really necessary.
But did that reinforce for you the whole thing of, look,
You need to show respect.
they're out to get me, they're not respecting
I
my
don't think
position?
anybody's out to get me. I just think that they're trying to usurp their authority as anybody else would be. We are the news media, and you will do what we're the news media. We're here.
But I don't think the news media, we don't, there's a difference if I write a blog and I give my opinion, that's one thing, but
that's
to
right.
write it in a story,
Yeah, I thought that was a little inappropriate myself. And for anybody who owns a Camaro, they get about 25 to 28 miles to the gallon. It's a V6, it's not a big V8, and I still have my Harley. But it's a little chilly to be driving around on a Harley Davidson, so I just said, no,
all-American motorcycle.
hey, that's it.
So basically the media thing, it kind of takes care of itself, I guess.
Yeah, I just let,
I noticed, for example, they had a story about what the county council can expect in 2013.
No, they don't
And there
know
was one quote from Josh Wagner,
no.
and one liner from a blog that Deb Denny's, the new councilwoman, had written for us, and that was it. But it was, it's kind of like, I guess it works both ways. If you're not going to be nice to me or you're going to hurt me,
Then I don't have to talk with you. Yeah. And I'll tell you, in reference to that article, I'm glad they have the crystal ball because I don't. So I don't even know what's going to happen in 2013. The only thing is going to happen in 2013 is what we are able to make happen. And that's it. So for everybody to sit here and say, oh, well, these new councilmen, we may all be able to work very well together. There are some issues that Mr. Wagner and I are very side by side on. We'll work perfectly together. There are issues where Ms. Northey and I will be working side by side very closely.
now Wagner and Northey are current
They've been there
Democrats. Just to sort of summarize, because people say, well, these are nonpartisan positions. Come on, let's be real about this.
No.
the Republican Party under Stan Escudero, who writes a blog for us, and Tony Ledbetter and others. Tony, I guess, is the new chair now.
Yes,
You were very much backed and supported
yes, very.
in terms of getting the boots on the ground from volunteers in the organization.
And my own people that I was able to recruit, and my
And I guess
Everything.
Persis and Doran each individually upwards of $200,000. And how much your campaign cost in total? About 10.
$9,860 dollars.
So just under 10,000 versus 400,000. Pretty big number.
Well, I'm a conservative. I'm ultra conservative. I mean, I know where to cut and save. I mean, when we went for the campaign signs, I spent 2 days hunting campaign signs all across the country to find the best price and the best deal on campaign signs. That's what I do. When it came time for advertising time, I went for you got to go for the best coverage and the best cost and the best.
Well, even then, your advertising with us was through the Republican Party.
Yeah, well, they did an in-kind contribution.
Right, and that was all was needed. You've got a lot of visits,
Got a lot of visits.
a lot of hits.
Yeah.
Through the
One
headline
of the most
surfer.
effective things were the business cards. Everywhere I go, I went through probably 50, 60,000 business cards. We had the palm cards, and we went through thousands and thousands and thousands of those. I mean, it's a costly thing, but I mean, if you shop, you'll find the best deal to get what you want done the best way, and that's been my life. That's why.
So the doom and gloom that was represented by the editor, Mr. Rice, that you got to play ball or you're just a ribbon cutter
No.
and one vote. You've got Josh Wagner, Democrat. Pat Northey, Democrat. The new guy up in Ormond,
Doug Daniels.
Doug Daniels, brand new Democrat.
Joyce Cusack.
And Joyce Cusack, the veteran, a very, very charming lady, a great lady. She's a Democrat. So you have four, and then you have, for the first time in, I think, forever,
20 years.
3 Republicans. Joey Alexander retired,
Yeah, so.
and she was replaced by Deb Denny's, yourself as the chair, and Pat Patterson, another former
Council member.
Council member. In
State.
fact, he was the county chair
Yeah, one
before it was an elected position. So you have a lot of leadership coming in.
Yeah.
Deb Denny's, of course, was a former elected member of the school board. She has a lot of community experience with organizations.
See,
So-
that's where we need to go.
So it's 4 Democrats, 3 Republicans. I tell you one thing I was impressed about. I went to, of course, we're a member of the Daytona Area Chamber of Commerce. Derek Henry was one speaker. You were supposed to be the other.
I couldn't.
You had the shingles. You were.
I was very, very ill.
So Josh Wagner took your place because he's District 2, represents Greater Daytona.
Cool.
And I was very impressed with Mr. Wagner's sentiment about he wants to work with the new chair. He wants to work with. He
Yeah.
wants to help build consensus. How does it make you feel to hear that?
Well, I mean, I've known Josh for many years on a personal level, and during his past campaigns and such. I think he's a great guy. He's got his head on straight, and I think we can all work together.
So it's not as bad as
No, there's
those 3
no-
Republicans versus those 4 Democrats.
No, there's no brick wall. There's going to be a time when we're all going to butt heads, and that's fine. That's expected. But there are going to be times when I'm going to look and say, look, I see where you're going with this, and I see where you're going with this. Why don't we kind of meet in the middle, and why don't we come up with it this way? This satisfies
It's funny.
satisfies that. And that's what a real leadership's about, is to sit and take both sides and let's put them together and say, hey, this
Exactly.
works for everybody.
But in recent past, in the 4.5 years I've been doing this, and even though I covered the policing courts at the News Journal and where else, other places I've worked, I've done a lot of breaking news and investigative reporting. It seems like the prevailing voice or the dominant voice is typically the administrator, whether it's a city manager or a county manager, and they make this huge salary. And then there's the county or the city attorney, and they make a huge salary. And then there's these part-timers at the city level that they get the quotes and stuff for the ribbon cuttings. Now, you're full-time.
Yeah.
If someone says, well, I've got too busy to do this, we're not going to buy that, are we?
No.
I mean, we in the media are not going to buy that if you say, oh, I'm too busy.
No, I mean, I always sit there and like I've told anybody, you call, I'll make an appointment, we'll sit down. I mean, I'm on a schedule. I have an iPad, And on my iPad is a schedule.
Well, can we schedule this?
Yeah, and we schedule this.
This
I
interview.
mean, we go bang, bang, bang. I go right down that. If it's not on that schedule, I can't be there because of travel time or
Well,
previous engagements. I never, as a matter of fact, I've already had several citizens come up and say, can I come up and talk with you? Sure, just call Darla. Call my secretary, here's her card. Give her a call, tell her I said, go ahead and make an
And
appointment.
then you would give them the time they need.
And they come in and let's sit down, what do you need?
Well,
I
yeah,
even
so
buy them a cup of coffee.
it's just like the thing about the arrest. I mean, it wasn't like it was just print. We had a story saying, hey, look, we found this. This isn't true. He did tell you 4 years ago. He was honest about it. You were on TV, as you said. You've been on a couple of radio programs. It kind of backfired in the News Journal.
Yes.
How does that make you feel knowing that you didn't do anything wrong, even though you had the embarrassment of having a sensationalized arrest headline?
It really wasn't even.
Credibility issue now.
Well,
Is it on them or is it on you?
it's not on me.
Okay.
I mean, I'll tell you that. I don't know if they would consider it on them or not, but it's definitely not on me because I told the truth.
Right.
The truth will set you free, and so, no,
All right, let's get into the final segment here. Well, and then there's one addendum at the end. This has been very educational to hear this kind of dialogue here. It's kind of interesting, but the whole thing about you're going to come in and you're going to do these things that are just terrible with the gas tax. Let's talk about this gas tax as one of your initiatives. I guess your initiatives were cutting taxes, cutting spending, and looking at some other things that were making some changes, like, for example, maybe the sheriff's office taking over the beach patrol.
Right.
Let's take one at a time. Let's talk about cutting taxes. What about the gas tax? Tell us what the maximum is in charge now, what you want to take it down to, and what it would do.
we have a discretionary tax of like 12.9%. It is at the discretion of the council to impose or not.
Now, is it the gas tax or is it called the fuel tax? Or is it interchangeable?
It's an interchangeable.
Okay.
This is a state mandated, you have X cents per dollar. Now, what's going on
Now,
now?
you said it's discretionary.
It's discretionary. It's
What's
our
the state
discretion.
level? You can take it
All-
down to the state level, right?
No, the state levels, no. No, we have from 0 to 12
I see.
cents per gallon
Right.
of a tax.
But it's more than 12 cents.
No, it's only 12.9 cents.
Okay, so,
There are other added-on referendum taxes
got
that
it.
the voters voted in to throw money into the roads, and that's a story for another day.
so how much is it now and what do you want to bring
It
it
is
down
at the
to?
max, 12.9.
And how much you want to bring it
I want
down
to drop
to?
it down 6 cents.
Would that cripple the roads program?
No, we will not cripple the roads program because there's already money for the roads program. We are funded by the state for most of our state roads. Federal government funds the federal road
And
repair.
DOT has a lot of projects that are ongoing.
DOT has a lot of projects. Cities are supposed to maintain the city roads. We have county roads.
Well, it's kind of funny, the gas tax was
There's not a
increased.
lot of county roads.
The county, the gas tax is increased because of the Nova Road expansion.
Yeah,
Which
that was-
ended a long time ago. But
That
they didn't,
was-
but they didn't bring the gas tax
That
down
was
after
a
that.
voted on referendum. I think it was what, 8-10 cents on the gallon. The problem is it's bonded. It can't go anywhere until the bond is paid. It's like a loan. So now we gotta pay this loan off. Well, that's causing our gas prices to be so high. That's why we're higher than most other places.
But you can still reduce the tax.
We can reduce
and-
our other discretionary tax. We can start working on that. I'm not gonna say it's gonna happen, but I'm already looking into it.
Is it going to roads anyway, or is it going to other things?
Majority of that money is going to roads, but there's already these road issues have been bonded. So we've got some money that's bonded. We've got to look at what money has been bonded or loaned out, and the bond is the security for the loan. So we got to make sure that that is satisfied. We got to make sure that these other road issues are satisfied before we can sit back and say.
It almost seems like-
it's a juggling act,
Well-
and we got to start doing the research.
I'll tell you, my wife is from Lake Mary, and we go over to see her family, and there's extended family in the Orange County area. My family's up in New England and New York, but that's probably my accent's coming through. But it seems like the gas prices in Seminole County, Orange County, Brevard County, as you get further up in Flagler into St. Johns County, a lot cheaper, anywhere from 5 cents to 20 cents cheaper. What's this? Why are we charging so much?
Tax. It's tax.
So that's what you want to take down.
I wanna take that, because that'll actually bring down incrementally.
Do you think
Now-
that the county manager will be able to sleep at night if you do that?
I'm sure he'll be fine. Because there's other issues that we're gonna start looking at of overspending that are gonna be stopped, that we're gonna start working on and fighting. You know, it's like this, you know, my 3 levels, you know, do we need it, how much, long-term?
And what was the third one?
Long-term cost. If it's a
So,
long-term
do we need
expense, do we need it? Yes or no? Do we have to raise a tax to do it?
And how much?
And how much is the long-term cost?
Okay.
I mean, those kinds of things. We've got some other issues that we can deal with, that we could take that money, we could put it into the transportation, we can do this funding. There's a lot of things and issues about bonds that are held out for road bonds, you know, that I'm doing research on.
And you also talked about the Echo. And it's been kind of, for lack of a better term, bastardized. Where
It's a mess.
Now there's this thing about buying riverfront properties
Yeah,
like
yeah,
St.
yeah.
John's River. Or I can understand wanting to buy properties for off-beach parking, because that's definitely needed. But it seems like this has been mentality all along, you know, for the last 50 years. East side versus west side. So because we desperately need this parking for the ocean, for the beach rather, so people can enjoy the ocean, now we're gonna have these purchases for the St. John's River.
Yeah.
And I understand there's land access issues and
There's land
that kind of thing,
access
but
issues.
St. John's River Management has plenty of property that,
That they could loan us or
Right.
lease us or do whatever.
but what about the Echo? We talked
Echo
earlier.
funding, now Echo is for ecological, cultural, historical, and outdoor use. That's what that was voted on 10 years ago. It was supposed to have been governed, it's a grant board. You get a millage rate on your taxes, the money goes in, it raises about $5 million a year, average. It's dropping because of the housing market. And this board of, shall we say, this Echo board, is supposed to bring in public and private partnerships
For example,
for grants.
the Chamber of Commerce in downtown in Smyrna Beach, the building. It's
Or-
a historic building.
Yeah.
The county puts in a certain amount through Echo.
And then a
And the
private,
city,
no,
and-
it's supposed to be private public, not public, private
Well, I
public.
meant through, there was CRA monies put in as well.
That's public.
But I think there were different stages though. is what I'm
Yeah,
trying
it's
to say.
supposed to actually
I think
be,
one stage was with no, the first stage was with Echo, the second stage was with CRA, so
Yeah.
that's my fault for not explaining that. But let me ask you this, so you've had actual Echo boards quit
yeah. we've had
because
a
they
lot.
felt like the county was getting, the
Well, they
county,
have,
the
but-
county council was getting involved, or county management saying, well, we want to take this money and do this instead. In fact, one year, they taxed us and just put the money aside because they couldn't figure out what to do with it. That's how bad this whole thing has
Well,
become. They're running out of things to actually
Well,
buy.
it's like this, what we need to do is, and the voters wanted it, you voters have it, it's got another 10 years before it sunsets, so before that's gone. Here's the deal, run it by the intent of the voters. It was voted on to have a board of governors, so to speak, to govern their
That's why you have a
piece of the
board.
pie. They are supposed to look at grant reviews, and they're supposed to be reviewing grants. They review all the grants, not 2 or 3 out of 20, but all.
Now, doesn't that then go to the county council for a final vote?
Once they say, we
Right.
like this one, we've got this, they get all their ducks in a row, then they bring it to the county council, we have the final say as to yes or no. Now, if I have a board of very well-trained, and I've met a couple of these individuals, they're very intellectual men and women, they know what they're talking about, they've.
And that's why they're members, that's
And
why
that's
they're
why
joining.
they are members on
All right,
there.
let's-
Now, these guys come to us and say, we need a $1 million grant to rebuild this historic, beautiful building. And here's the key, once it's done, it has to be open to the public forever.
Right, that's right.
Now, if it is not, if none of that happens, that's not going to go. This is not money that is supposed to be given to Bob the farmer because he wants to rebuild a barn. It's not supposed to be given to build a private industry,
Well, there has been.
anything.
Well, for example, there was something to do with a land purchase in Ponce Inlet where it
It's-
seemed like the prices
Yes.
were just like
Oh,
overkill, where it would have been a lot cheaper in a private sale. But it's kind of funny.
beware.
Buyer
And
beware.
I will tell, well, no.
Taxpayer beware.
Taxpayers don't beware. No, you've got the bulldog. Because I have no problem with going over to our property manager or our property appraiser's office, Morgan Gilray.
He's pretty open about a
He's
lot
very
of these
open,
things.
and I've said, Morgan, I will be calling you, and he says, bring it on. These outrageous amounts of money that we're spending on property, when I see a piece of property come over and they say, we're gonna buy this through this, and I see this huge line of zeros
Well-
after it, I go right down to his office and say, Morgan, can you give me some information on it? He does it every time.